US and the UK and other countries also, they now are very eager to pass off as Indians, except in Pakistan, where they basically pass off as Turkish. They're either Iranian or Turkish, but outside they pass off as Indian. Now, the chairman has basically requested me to talk about India's evolving strategy towards China. Now, obviously, a strategy that's evolving will not be really complete. So, there will be a certain amount of, if I may say so, a certain amount of rough edges in this kind of evolution. And quite obviously, the Indian foreign policy today is very much driven by the personality, by the priorities of the Prime Minister. Now, I'm not sure any of us can claim to understand either the personality or the priorities of Narendra Modi. So, but I just like to have a rough, I mean, from my point of view, my limited understanding of the individual, of his policies, of his mode of work over about 11 years, I just want to sketch what I believe will probably be some of the essential elements in a policy towards China. Because we all know that policy towards China has gone through several hits and starts. I mean, we had this period of extreme romance about China. The Chinese could do no wrong. And we basically ignored their moving into expansion. We ignored their takeover of Tibet, even though our entire water supply for so many Indian rivers comes from Tibet. And Tibet is so extremely crucial from the point of view of Indian security. The same kind of mistake we made in 1948 on Kashmir, when frankly those parts of Kashmir that are important for connections, Central Asia, etc., we neglected. Or in 52, when we rejected the offer of the Sultan of Oman to give us Guadalajara port. I'm not going to go into all the history. 62 war was of course a big shock. I don't think Prime Minister Nehru really believed Chinese are really going to attack. It's a kind of phony war situation. The Europeans also, for a long time in 1939, if you remember, they called it a phony war. And the Germans won't really attack. Until the attack came, they were clear. After that, there was a period of extreme, if I may say so, disillusionment with China. I think it was Rajiv Gandhi who tried to revive the relationship. He had some good meetings with Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping's focus was on economic development. He wanted to make the next 20 or 30 years the period in which China will economically develop, because he recognized the centrality of that to the stability of the Communist Party. I mean, Deng was a communist. He wanted the Communist Party to be stable. He realized it can only be stable if they can bring prosperity to China. So, having done that, he tried to downplay conflicts, he tried to downplay the military, and he did in fact cut back on aspects of PLA privileges, PLA spending, and he had a policy of trying to get peace with all his neighbors, including with India. Unfortunately, I think Rajiv Gandhi moved a considerable step in that direction, but subsequent to Mr. Gandhi, I don't think that this initiative was really taken up. So now, but from 85 to 2004, you can have, in a sense, the twin track policy of China. And the twin track, I'm talking the Chinese side. One track is that you try and, and play with India wherever India wants to play, economics, commerce, etc. At the same time, you retain the policy from 62 to 1985, which was intense hostility to India, helping Pakistan, helping Bangladeshi and other people, wherever you could find internally in India, wherever you could find groups and forces that were hostile to the state in India, hostile to the aspirations of India, help them. I think the Chinese policy is very clear from 62 to 85, of course. I'm not talking about 59, the year when this changed, with Dalai Lama coming here. But after 85 to 2004, the emphasis was not just on the negative, but also on the positive. 2014 onwards, some of us were hoping, frankly, that it would be more positive than negative, in the sense that the PLA component of Chinese foreign policy towards India, which is a very Pakistan-centered, a very negative aspect, will be supplanted to an extent by the state-owned enterprise view on relations with India. Chinese state-owned enterprises see India as a big market, the way the Americans do, the way the Europeans do, the way so many other countries do. The state-owned enterprises in China look upon India as a huge market for infrastructure, for energy, for telecom, for various items which they would want to hard sell. So from that point of view, they're looking at a breakthrough in relations with India. Now, the question is, which of these trends will become more dominant in the case of China? We saw when Xi Jinping came to India. Now, we're all talking about Prime Minister Modi and the welcome he gave President Obama. Let's not forget Prime Minister Modi went the extra mile to welcome Xi Jinping. He brought Xi Jinping over to Gujarat and he took him personally to Gandhiji's thing, and they even sat on a swing together. I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi. I'm not sure he's ever sat in a swing before. I mean, certainly I was very doubtful whether our Prime Minister had ever sat in a swing before. But he did that. All in interest of good relations with China. And then lo and behold, what happens, you have this situation on the border. Of course, I'd like to point out, I mean, I think my friend Siddharth and others may not be entirely happy when I say it. I'd like to point out that this kind of incursion takes place roughly 265 out of 365 days. It's quite routine on the India-China border. Our chaps go there, they go some distance. The Chinese say, hey, what are you doing? They give them some Chinese tea or whatever it is, noodles and all that, send them back. The Chinese guys come to our side. Our chaps ask them, what are you guys doing here? And then they say, well, you know, this belongs to us. So Indian guys say, sorry, no. And then they give them some, whatever, sabji or paratha or whatever, and they send them back. Because I don't know, you know. So that's the routine. But lo and behold, when Xi Jinping was in India, it just so happened that a major television channel was there in a very faraway corner of Ladakh. And that television channel, which is beaming across, it's an agency channel, was somehow by sheer good luck there at that particular point in time. Probably aware that the Chinese would come, because they always come. And images were beamed. And frankly, once again, some of our television anchors got the opportunity to tell us that we are at war with China. Now, I'm not very sure we are at war with China because approximately 0 bullets have been fired across both sides of the border since the 1962 war. Now, 0 is not a very large number. I'm not good in mathematics, but I think 0 is not a very large number. But it happened. Now, I'm not going to fault television anchors at all because I'm part media myself, so I'm not going to say anything. But the reality of the situation is, frankly, that this is that created a problem. And the point was very clearly that Xi Jinping is the chairman of the Central Military Commission. The least he could have done was to tell his people, for God's sake, we're doing this on 265 days, 100 days you're not doing this, please make my visit part of those 100 days. Don't come during my time. So, according to the information that was given to me, information that was conveyed to the Prime Minister himself, I'd like to say that I think the Prime Minister himself has the same view, which was conveyed to him by President Xi Jinping in the meetings that they had, and he had some pretty frank opinions on this border incursion with President Xi on two evenings when they had separate conversations. Xi Jinping was not aware, he was certainly not forewarned about this visit. I think it was a routine standard operating procedure of the Chinese. There was a Chinese road there. Our chaps, bust the road up. The standard operating procedure, a platoon of Chinese comes there, and they came there. And then what happened was that our guys went there, but Xi Jinping was supposedly taking the surprise, whatever it is. That entire goodwill and that good kind of atmospherics was lost completely during that visit. But it was Prime Minister Modi's intention, as far as any of us can say, to establish a close, cordial working relationship with China. And he went the extra mile in a context in which China is not at all seen as a friend of India, and large parts of Chinese establishment are not friendly with India. He went the extra mile. The point I'm trying to make is, we should not look upon this Obama thing as indicating that the Prime Minister is focusing on the United States. The Prime Minister, in my view, as I said, I don't claim to have any special knowledge of Mr. Modi, except that I read about him in the newspapers and magazines, and I see sometimes the newspapers and the television screen when he comes and gives a speech. In my view, the Prime Minister understands very clearly that China is, after the United States, the country with which India needs to have a very clear diplomacy. I'm not going to use the platitude of good relations, Because relations, I mean, even when you're two good friends, or even when you're in a very close relationship, there are good and bad parts of it. So any relationship will have good, bad, I'm not going to use the word good, but we need to engage vigorously with China for the simple reason that China is almost as important to the United States as the United States to India in terms of the fundamental foundation of Prime Minister Modi's foreign policy, which is the same almost as Deng Xiaoping's was in the 1980s. Speedy economic growth for India. The Modi foreign policy is predicated on the belief that we are not going to be respected because of our food, our dress, our culture. We are going to be respected on the basis of our gross national product. And unless you boost the gross national product, this country is not going to be able to pull its way to the world. So very clearly the Prime Minister has made double-digit growth the foundation of his policy, including his foreign policy. So therefore I want to tell you, it's not an either-or situation. It's not either the United States or China, and now, after Obama visit, it's clear that we have chosen the United States. We have not. I don't think the Prime Minister has, and I think that's why Sushma Swaraj is going there very, very soon. Ambassador Jaishankar, who's now become a foreign secretary, he knows China very well. He is highly respected as an ambassador there. He's very familiar with China, and he knows the United States very well. And of course, most importantly, he knows India very well, and the specific needs of this particular country. The problem we are facing in India is that many of the Indian analysts don't know our country very well and its own specific needs. We are more attuned to the specific needs of other countries than our own country. But we have, therefore I want to tell you, this is why China is crucial. I would say after the United States, in terms of priority, the second priority of the Prime Minister's wish list, if I were to interpret it, would definitely be China. And the reason for that is the centrality of China to economic development. Now, now Chinese trade is about 75 billion. At one time it was less than a billion. Exactly. When I went on Chinese Central Television, and first thing I said, within 3 years it's going to reach 10 billion, there was a lot of laughter. Then I said 25 billion, there was still more laughter. My point is, potentially India-China trade can reach 300 billion. Now, I wanted to tell you why. One, we have in India a huge corporate sector which is now groaning under high interest debt. Because of the high interest rate policy of the Reserve Bank of India, Mr. Raghuram Rajan, his predecessor, Indian corporates are now paying 12, 13, 14% for their loans. A corporate in Europe is paying about 2%. A corporate in the United States is paying under 2% sometimes 2%. A Chinese corporate is paying about 3%. And therefore it's a huge disadvantage for Indian corporates to have these high cost loans. Now China has got a huge amount of financial reserves. Now I believe that the Bank of China also has been allowed to set up here. Chinese financial institutions are looking at India to invest in terms of loans and capital. The point is, they would like to diversify their basket from Europe and the United States, from the euro and the dollar. They are investing heavily in Africa. They are investing heavily in Southeast Asia. They are investing heavily in South America. Very, very heavily in South America. They have invested heavily in Europe and the United States, we know that. They are now investing extremely heavily in Sanjay's favorite country of Russia. They are investing very heavily there. And the point is that they could also potentially invest, just in terms of loans to Indian corporates, about $100 billion. Secondly, they could potentially invest about $100 billion in terms of investment into India for joint production XYZ. Now the Prime Minister sanctioned, when Xi Jinping came, 2 industrial parks. They're entirely Chinese. One is Gujarat, where it's going to be automobile ancillaries, if I'm not mistaken. The other is in Maharashtra, somewhere near Pune, and that is also going to be mechanical. But the idea is, I think, to set up many more parks, or 20, 25 more parks, to pull in Chinese investment. In my view, and I'm saying this, I mean, I know people are going to say the same thing when I said that trade will be 10 billion, 25 billion, there's going to be a little bit of laughter. But I'm quite convinced that about $100 billion of Chinese investment in about 5 or 6 years is feasible, provided conditions across both sides of the border are good for that kind of a prospect. So, and I believe the Prime Minister is from Gujarat. Gujarat is a place where people know their mathematics, they know their business, and I mean, they know how to make a profit. So from that point of view, I think he's fully aware of that. Which is again, there are some other points regarding China. Now, we're talking in terms of the balance of trade today is heavily against India. It's about $35 billion, or 40 billion, nearly $40 billion adverse to India. Part of the reason is that a lot of money that we could get from China by specific ways, we are blocked because of security concerns. Now, I mean, I've got good friends in security apparatus, and they firmly believe that the best policy of dealing with China is blocking, don't allow them to come. So now what is happening? Investment from China is not encouraged to come to India. Investment from the Middle East also is not encouraged to come to India. What happens? That RMB, that Kuwaiti dinar, that Saudi riyal, what happens? It goes to London, it goes to New York, it goes to some Bahamas, it comes to Mauritius. You know, what we call in India a Shuddhikaran. So the Chinese money is given a Shuddhikaran in New York and London. The Arab money is given a Shuddhikaran in New York and London. They add their 4.5%, 5%, 6% and send it back to us, and we welcome it. Who runs this company? I mean, this capital is controlled by the Chinese, by the Arabs. Ultimately, they are the ones who pay the lawyers, who deal with this money. So what our security people are doing is creating a system in which they can't stop money from coming in. For example, you've got participating notes, where you can come and send in money without any proof whatsoever of who has sent the money. They've got various other schemes through Mauritius, etc., of money coming in. And you've got buildings in Mauritius where there are 400, 500 companies that invest billions of dollars into India, and that building will not be worth even $50,000. The building is not worth $50,000, but billions are invested from that one building into India. So, personally, my personal view, it's a little absurd. This presupposes a kind of financial system which is about 30 years out of date. Not even 30 months out of date, because these days the financial system that 3 weeks out of date is out of date. Technology and financial systems are changing, tracking systems are changing, methods of computation are changing every month almost. But we are about 30 years out of date in so-called our blockade of capital. The second point, of course, is like tourism. Last year, approximately 98 million Chinese went abroad. 98 million. Guess how many came to India? Can anyone give me a guess? 46,000. Now, again, I'm not good at maths, but if you calculate what percentage of 98 million, 46,000 each, it's not a major percentage. The fact of the matter is that these are fields in which there can be an extensive amount of money coming in from China. The Chinese have been very clever. They don't put blockades. They track. And in our security systems also, our methods also, we can also track. But provided we get into that mode. And the point I think I'd like to say, I believe the current leadership in India is not going to allow jobs in India to be lost, is not going to allow growth in India to be sacrificed for the sake of a system which is 30 years out of date. So I believe we are going to see a change in that. I believe we are going to see much more of a flow of investment, tourism, other traffic across the border, keeping in mind one central fact. And that central fact is large, powerful elements of Chinese state are totally hostile to India. They are wedded to Pakistan. They are completely hostile to India as some parts of the American state. I mean, Rakesh has done brilliant work in the field of non-proliferation. He knows the non-proliferation lobby in the United States, how hard it has worked to completely damage and destroy our nuclear infrastructure, to damage and destroy our space technology. So, I mean, it's not just China. Practically every large country has got its groups that want to target India. China, those groups are a little more powerful than they are in the United States at this point in time. The first 4 years of Obama administration was negative, became neutral, now it's positive the last 2 years. So again, I would like to say, so far as China is concerned, it's an opportunity, it's also a threat. So the question is, dealing with the threat while not rejecting the opportunity. Today what happened, because of fear of the threat, the opportunity is lost. With the result that we have become a kind of a supplier of raw material to China. We don't allow the Chinese to invest in India. We don't allow Chinese capital to come here and create jobs in India. We don't allow Chinese tourists to come to India. But we sell their, but then we buy a lot of their stuff manufactured in China. Now, personally, I can't see why it is more sensible to buy a Chinese power equipment or a telecom equipment made in China or in Vietnam or in somewhere where the Chinese have got it, rather than in India. I think it makes much more sense to have that thing made in India where we can get jobs rather than some Vietnamese or some Chinese. So I do believe that these barriers are going to be pulled down one by one, and you're going to see a very vigorous engagement between India and China from the point of view of commerce. Now, commerce, as I said, since 9/11, as Arun will tell you, security has trumped commerce in the United States definitely. Now, after ISIS, etc., security is trumping commerce to some extent, even in the European Union. In our own case, I think we've always had a situation where, unfortunately, security stifles commerce. It doesn't trump commerce and completely stifles it in many locations. But the fact is that in that situation, this is a view with which I strongly feel the Prime Minister, in my view, sees the United States as core to the security interests of India. From the point of view of technology, from the point of view of the war on terror, from the point of view of freedom of the seas, freedom of navigation, and that is navigation in the air, land and sea. In other words, there should not be dominance on the land of trade routes. There should not be dominance in the sea of trade routes. There should not be dominance in the air of trade routes. Now, in that situation, if any country wants to establish dominance, certainly I think our Prime Minister will not be happy. And I believe quite clearly, looking around, the belief is that Americans also would not want that kind of dominance, and definitely in Asia. So from that point of view, it is, as Prime Minister Vajpayee first said, and now Mr. Obama said, the Prime Minister said, a transformational relationship. I want a little bit of a plug. Sunday Guardian has carried a special supplement of about 20 pages on the India-China visit, 16 pages. Please have a look at it. It will be online, in which a large number of articles. Again, from the point of view, so in other words, the US relationship is indispensable to our security. The relationship with China is indispensable to our economic well-being. So it's not a question of sacrificing one for the other. It's a question of finessing the two in such a way that we can derive the benefits of security without sacrificing the benefits of commerce. Of course, the second part of the matter is very clear, that if you have a strong security architecture with India and the United States getting involved, it also means that possibly the Chinese, or very practical people, are not going to be as aggressive as they would otherwise be. Now, if this Asian NATO thing has come up, I don't deny that some of us, the paper was initially created here in Manipal. Whether something to be attended publicly or not, I don't know. But the point of the matter is that the idea behind Asian NATO was not to have a war. The idea was twofold. One, don't bring Europe into Asia. Europe has got a colonial legacy in Asia. And the Europeans have got their own agendas and their colonial agendas we have seen in Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. If you want to come to Asia, North America, come directly. The security situation in Asia is not what it is in Europe. You have a NATO in Europe to take care of security situation in Europe. You're floundering because that security architecture is being used outside Europe. Come to Asia, have an agreement with Asia for that. So from that point of view, Asian NATO was set up. The concept of that is a direct link between North America and Asia, leaving aside NATO, the European partners of NATO. The second point was not to create a war, but to prevent a war. If, for example, if you go back to the Second World War, if Hitler had been challenged in the Rhineland, if Hitler had been challenged in Czechoslovakia, there may never have been a Second World War. We may have avoided an entire bloodshed. If, for example, ISIS is destroyed now, in the next 18 months, ISIS is completely bombed and destroyed, we may not need to fight a war in every city in the world, because what is happening in ISIS is mutating across cities across the world. So we may not need to fight that kind of a horrible war if we can get rid of this problem now. So the formation of a strong military alliance, and now you're seeing that India and Australia, India and Japan, India and the United States, India and Vietnam are extremely close. And an extension of that, in my view, is going to be monetization of our technical assets. Now the DTTI, the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative, I think initially when the Americans discussed that with us, when Prime Minister Modi was there in September, our chaps went and gave them a list of some 6 items off the shelf. I think there was probably a circular letter sent, please tell us. So DRDO sent one item, somebody sent some other, and those 6 items came. The point is that what we need to do is to give a comprehensive framework, number one. Number two, this technology has got to come as part of a package of joint productions. It's not just taking the technology off the shelf. It's going in for joint production, and going in for joint production on a basis of in terms of equality or mutual advantage. It can't be equality in all cases, but definitely mutual advantage. From that point of view, India has certain technologies that are extremely good. For example, in the field of atomic energy, we have this technology of, I don't know what is it called, the heavy water reactor, 320 megawatt reactor. We have 500 megawatt reactor. You know, these are very low cost reactors. These are very high efficiency reactors, very safe reactors. We have ample thorium reserves. So if you sell these reactors, sell the thorium, get uranium, whichever country doesn't get uranium, we can make billions of dollars out of this to fund our atomic program and to fund the 3-stage program of homing power. Why? If you go to defense, by selling defense equipment together with Americans, together with whoever it is, we can get equipment and we can get that done. One of the problems, Sanjay, frankly, that I was told, I don't know if it's true, that the Russians are, there is some worry that the Russians have transferred some of the crucial data regarding the BrahMos to the Chinese. And if that is the case, I can tell you, I would definitely be very, very nervous about any high technology cooperation on the 5th generation aircraft with them. I certainly don't want any of our technology to be transferred to Americans or Chinese or anybody else. Whoever the joint partner, yes, but not outside. So I want to stress this. Germany and Japan as platforms for manufacturing. Germany as a platform for vocational training. Britain as a platform for development of soft power. Americans as a platform for security. China as a platform for investment. The Middle East as a focus of investment. Africa. It's as somebody was saying here, from non-alignment to all alignment. So from that point of view, I was saying, that is the way our foreign policy is today evolving. It's very much a work in progress. I think our Prime Minister himself says he needs 1 year in office to fully understand this terrible city which is Delhi. Because he has made a hostile takeover of Delhi. You know, it's like Lakshmi Mittal buying into Arsenal. The entire Arsenal gang hated Lakshmi Mittal and they called him all kinds of names. Mr. Lakshmi Mittal, of course, went and recruited the whole lot of them and increased their salaries, so they don't hate him anymore. But the fact is that Prime Minister Modi has made, in a sense, a hostile takeover of the Delhi establishment. He's now in Delhi. He needs a year to understand the Delhi. But in that year, I firmly believe he's working out a construct. And in that construct of foreign policy, China is definitely going to play a central role. I've given you some elements of that. I mean, from my very limited understanding of the situation, I've given you some elements of which I have a little bit of understanding of that. But all I can say is, I think it's a welcome development. I think it's a welcome development in terms of and again I say the central point is, we should use the opportunities and take care of the threats. For fear of the threats, we should not lose the opportunities, because let's remember, the ultimate objective is a double-digit rate of growth. For a double-digit rate of growth, you must have China. Till the 1990s, the indispensable partner for economic growth was the United States. Unfortunately, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, when that was very true, we were distant from the United States. Today, the indispensable partner, whether it's Japan, whether it's Korea, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's India, United States, a very important partner for economic development, unfortunately, is China. So we can't stand aloof from China today as we stood aloof from the United States, because then we will lose the same opportunity that we lost with the United States. So from that overriding point of view, I am very hopeful. In about 5 or 6 months, you're going to see the contours of policy. I believe the Prime Minister is going to China. I believe that a lot of discussions are taking place. And very importantly, I think the point somebody made here, we are not going to be apologetic to China about taking care of our security. The Chinese have as much right to South China Sea as we have over the Indian Ocean. If they block us there, we can block them here. Because then that is very, very clear. And secondly, all these incursions are because they have refused to do the delineation of the border. Through satellites, you can map the border clearly. The PLA has been extremely, if I may say so, I don't want to use a swear word in this audience, so I'm going to just put X, whatever, and censor that. But the Chinese have been extremely dash about delineating the border with us. And I think they need to be told very bluntly, if you do that, don't expect us to be nice to you. I want to end by saying, I think Prime Minister Modi's fundamental policy in politics, as in foreign policies, you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. If you're not nice to me, I have absolutely no obligation to be nice to you. Thank you.